And welcome to Tailstaters. Today we're going to talk about lighting. What kind of lighting? Well, the kind that needs a bluff bounce. What other kind is there? We are continuing on from our episode all about the bluff bounce, where I started to have the inclination to go off on tangents, which is kind of my thing. I figured on that day, I'm like, why don't I stop doing that? Because we only have so much time, and why don't we focus on the bluff bounce? I'm going to shoot more on the bluff bounce. And then I will come back and feature all of the things I wanted to talk about, which is the lighting design aspect of using big giant sources. Molly was kind enough to come back out and be our model. Specifically, we're going to talk about modifying, shaping, and basically telling the photons to go where you want them to go. The bigger you go, the more the light's going to want to go everywhere. Getting that light to go where you want it to go and not where you don't want it to go. Yeah, I think you get it. We're using a 1200D. As our key, which is daylight only. It's sitting in a turtle base, firing up into an 8x bounce, the bluff bounce, and then it's returning on the subject. When you're shooting, just to know the space you're shooting. If it's a movie, generally you're going to have a technical review. You're going to at least put eyeballs on all the locations and figure out what you can do, what you can't do, what's going to be a problem, logistically speaking. As usual, I'm off on a tangent, but you're going to figure out how to make your day less crappy and make things accomplishable and what you can do in the space. Here today, we're in a big open space. We don't have to be inhibited by the footprint we have. We've got a big 8x, we can put it in the room, we can go up to the ceiling. If we needed to put siders, bottomers, toppers, we have all the space to do that. A lot of times you don't, so you may need to scale this down to something more reasonable. You can build a book light out of a 4x beadboard, 4x diffusion. And one good thing to do is just, the easiest thing to do is to come on the other side of your light source and look at it. Do you see a point source? Do you see anything that's not just the wall of light? Anything you see that is not the wall of light is basically like a second source that's hitting both. You got a harder and a softer, making an indirect light that is then bouncing back through the material. And so now this is the light source and the 1200 is just supplying it, if that makes sense. So now we're made, if you can see me, kind of a book shape, which is where the clever name comes from. All right, let's put the tilt back. I think it was just a little, yeah, like that. All right, so here we are back again. The last episode was more about the bluff bounce, and now we're going to get more into the lighting aspect of it and what we do to control all the spill that we may not want. We're in a room with black wall, black floor, but we also have mirrors everywhere. We have white on one side. So this time we've upgraded initially by adding an 8x solid on camera left just to block out the door, a 6x solid behind camera to block off some of the mirrors, and we have other things that are staged and we'll add as we go. So for example, in this image, and I like this image kind of as is, I probably wouldn't change much about it. However, it might bother you that there's like a little metallic hit like right above her head. So we were gonna add, last time we had just a bottomer, this time we'll add a topper, and we'll add a sider on the other side because where she is standing, even though it is minor, there is some light spilling from the key onto the mirror and back. I'm probably gonna cut out like 90% of this, but that's just how it goes. All right, so let's walk in the bounce first. You know I like no bounce because it's more dramatic, but myself, let's see, coming off, coming back in. So now we're adding our own bounce. We're adding as much or as little as we want. And we've also added some neutral density to the camera. We do have our bottomers still in play. You don't necessarily want this wall of light just rushing entirely at them. You might want that, you might not. You might want to start focusing it on what people want to look at, what you want the viewer's eye to go to. Depending on what they're wearing, if they're wearing a light colored shirt, you might want to bring this up and start to gradient, start to feather out the intensity and focus it more on their face or some other feature in the scene. And one thing about the bottomer we talked a little bit about last time is that you can control how much of the feather is happening. So I'll try and do this while it's rolling. So coming all the way out, or most of the way out, we'll say, and starting to come up, it is naturally affecting the entire source. So, but you can control the gradient, you can control how much by moving it either closer to the fixture or further away from, as long as you stay out of frame. And you're going to affect more, you're going to isolate more of whatever part you're trying to highlight. And it's all about standing over here, whatever your fixture is, however big, and just drawing a line like you were blocking off light, well, what you are. But if you were blocking something and you were drawing a straight line from the fixtures, it's obviously a very big fixture, so it wants to cross and go everywhere. But if it makes sense, you're now getting darker down here and brighter up here. The further you go away from the fixture, the more control you have over how much you're focusing it. The closer you get, the more of a blend, the more of a gradient, the softer it's going to be. And like I said, with this, with the meat cleaver, you can also control it by tilting, which is handy. Because now it's like, again, it's like you're spilling the light over while you're still protecting or shadowing what you want. Yeah, and I think that did a pretty good job. So now it's gradienting off, it's feathering off, like the shirt. If she has a lighter color shirt on this time than last time. So that's maybe something where you want to focus more on the eyes and the light. Go ahead and give a little look around like you were doing. Topper is the same deal, same exact idea. You can control the same exact things from how far it is from the source. This is duvetine, so you can't exactly tilt it, but you can move it up and down. You are affecting how much light is coming through. So you are affecting the overall exposure in general. And again, depending on how much you want to get to the subject, moving it away lets more of the top sneak through the bottom and get there versus still protecting whatever it is higher and further away. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and flag off the whole right side. Originally, this was just going to cap off this end from bouncing into the mirror, coming back at Amalia. So going up, did that one job, but also there's light sneaking through here, going to the wall, which in this case, because it's black, is okay, as far as I'm concerned, but it might not be okay. Maybe you don't want it there, maybe the walls are white. So the more you wrap it around the light source, the more you're going to take it off the background as well. So now it's doing kind of double duty. It's stopping light from bouncing into this mirror. And the more you can sneak it around this way, the more you're taking it off the wall. And all these siders, bottomers, toppers, same idea as far as letting light sneak through to what you want versus not. And again, you can feather this in and out. It might be in frame a little bit, getting to the edge of it, taking it off the wall, but it's probably too much, but we'll take a look at it. All right, so now we've got our camera right solid in, we've got our topper in, we've got our bottomer in, we've got our other solids, and we have our bounce, which we could move in or take away if we wanted to. I'm gonna take it away a little bit because I like a little more dramatic. All right, so go ahead and give another look around. So now she is in more of like what you would call a cave, which it might be what you want. You might want to take all that spill off the wall. You might like that hit on the top, you might not. I kind of like the hit being taken away, but I'd rather see the wall a little bit in this circumstance. So we're gonna open that up a little bit. And it's gonna become about just feathering how much light do you want to spill through versus not. Turning it into a book light, although it does make it nice, a little bit softer, it also kind of takes away and mutes even more the colors that you're getting off of the bounce. So I figure let's do one more. Just the bounce now that I've turned it upside down, just to kind of see earth tone on the top, blue on the bottom. So right now, that is back to just the Bluff Bounce. But instead now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a little double break, or actually a single break for the light, just to soften it before it actually hits the bounce. So versus a book light, this is just breaking the light first, just so it's softer with what it's getting onto the actual bounce. This is just an 18 by 24. All right, so go ahead and just give another look around, so look towards the light source. This is a little bit harder, but now adding a little bit of a diffusion. This is just a silk, 18 by 24 silk, in between the light source and the Bluff Bounce. Last time I did try a Fresnel, but it started smoking, so I took that off. And yeah, thanks for joining Tailslaters. This has been Big Bouncy. Thanks for joining Tailslaters. This has been Big Bouncy Sources. Big Bouncy Sources and the gaffers who love them.